Hello everyone, welcome to this session on why should we go ahead and learn Azure. Today in this session, I will tell you some of the reasons as to why you should choose Azure as a career option for your future. All right, so let's get started. Now we have people both from YouTube and we also have some people on our webinar. So people on webinar, you can go ahead and ask questions and I'll be answering it live. At the same time, guys, today we will be having 3 sessions on Azure, right? So this first session is an introductory session. The second session will be a little more technical, where I'll tell you how to basically go ahead and deploy your first servers on Azure. And the third session, which will be later tonight, will basically be about how you can deploy a full-fledged application on Azure. Now, if you are interested, people on YouTube, you can go ahead and register for the webinar that we are going to have at 5:30 and 8:30. 1 o'clock and 8:30 today, respectively, because those will be conducted live on webinar as well, and you can go ahead and ask questions to us also. Okay, people on webinar, if you have not registered for the future webinars, you can register for them too. The links will be given to you shortly in the chat. So you can go ahead and click over there and enroll yourself in those webinars as well. So having said that, let's go ahead and start with the session, guys. Let me see if we have any questions on the webinar. So Sujit is saying low voice. Okay, Sujit, let me try and fix that. Srinivasa is saying hello, presentation is started. No, Srinivasa, we're going to start now. And all right, guys, so let's go ahead and start. So guys, let's go ahead and understand what is the agenda of this session first. So first, we will go ahead and understand why do we need Azure, and then move on to discuss what is Azure exactly. After that, we'll go ahead and discuss a case study of how Ubisoft and HP is using Azure in its own company and what they have to say about the Azure cloud platform. And finally, we'll see how you can learn further Azure if you want to. Okay. So without wasting any time, guys, let's go ahead and get started with this session with the first topic, that is, why do we need Azure? So guys, Azure is a company where $1 billion is invested in research, in the only research and development department every year, and it has around 3,500 security experts. Now that tells us that whatever features Azure is coming up with, they're top notch, right? They're top of the line, and there are 3,500 security experts which are working on the Azure cloud platform, which basically means if you as an individual are trying to host an application on Azure, you can be rest assured that they are in safe hands, right? So before that, you might want to get a context of what Azure exactly is. So guys, Azure is basically a cloud platform. It gives servers on rent, right? And it is basically a service which you can avail versus if you don't avail their service, you will have to buy your own servers. Now, if you buy your own servers, you'll have to set up the security, the maintenance, everything of it. But when you are handing those servers to Azure to handle, they will handle the security, they will do the maintenance, and clearly, if they have 3,500 security experts, you can be rest assured that the kind of security that they are going to give to your application which are hosted on their servers is obviously going to be more than you hosting it on your own private servers. Okay. Second thing is there are 100 plus services which you can use in Azure to deploy applications. And those 100 plus services will have different features that you can make of, which are basically going to make your deployment life easy. Now, what do you mean by that? So there are 100 plus services, which you can make use of, which basically have some or the other kind of automation, inbuilt in them, which are going to make deployment easy for you. If I were to give you an example, if you were to set up your own server, you will have to install all the software. You will have to make sure that the internet is working properly. You will have to make sure that you have a proper, good internet. with a good bandwidth, and you have a static IP attached to your system. All these things you have to take care of, right? But everything which I've just mentioned is managed by Azure when you use their servers. And the cost which comes when you use their servers per minute is as low as 0.50 paise, per minute. When you talk about, INR, and when you talk about dollars, it's $0.005 per minute. Sorry, per hour. So that is the kind of service that you get from Azure. And I'm like to correct myself, it was 50 paise per hour, not 50 paise per minute. Okay, so that is the kind of service that you get from Azure when you are using their servers. Third thing, and the most important thing, is 95% of the Fortune 500 companies are using Azure for their day-to-day needs. Now, I would like to point out over here that Azure might be they're being used by 95% Fortune 500 companies, but it's still not the largest cloud provider, right? Most of the companies in this 95%, or in these Fortune 500 companies, I'd say rather a bigger number than 95% would be using AWS, but no company would rely on only one cloud provider for their server needs. What they also do is they also have a secondary cloud provider in mind, which they keep in case the AWS servers outage happens, right? And when that happens, Microsoft Azure is the first choice that they go to. Secondly, companies which rely on Windows workloads, they always prefer Azure, and the reason for that is since Microsoft owns Windows, they also own the the option of reducing their licenses cost if they want. So a Windows server, if you were to use on Google Cloud Platform or AWS, will cost you a lot more than if you try to use it on Microsoft Azure, right? So that is also one of the reasons that companies who have Windows workloads, they prefer Azure over AWS, which has the largest market share. So these were some of the reasons that why companies choose Azure. Okay. Now, what do you get? Why should you learn Azure? Let's talk about that. So when you sign up for Azure, first of all, what Azure gives you is it's give you a very generous package. It's called a welcome package. It's called a free tier package, in which you get 13,000 rupees, or you get $200 worth of credit, right, in your account, which you can use for 1 month to deploy any kind of service in Azure. Right now, this is given to you so that you can try out Azure, you can get to know what the performance is like, right? And at the same time, you also get some of the services which are going to be free for the next 12 months. Okay, so this is the kind of package that you get with Azure. So why should you learn Azure? Because they give you this package which you can use to actually make use of understanding how Azure basically works, and will it be beneficial for your career? Is it something that you can make hold of while you make your shift into the cloud domain? Now, other than that, what else do you get in your Microsoft free account? You can deploy monitoring services. You can create app services on which you can deploy mobile applications. You can also test and deploy applications, using the using the Azure DevOps services which are there in the dashboard, and all of them come under the free tier and can be used with the 13,300 credit that you get. Now, if you were to quickly compare it with AWS that we studied yesterday, so in AWS, you do not have the option of deploying any kind of server. You have to stick to a particular class of processor. Only that you can deploy in the free tier. But in Azure, it does not restrict you to do that. You have the credits with you. You can use those credits in whatever way you want and deploy any size of server that you want in Azure using those credits. Apart from that, when we talk about the public cloud market share, like I said, Azure is the second largest cloud provider, as you can see over here, right? So earlier, there were some other cloud providers in 2016, that were basically at 52% at that time. But now, as you can see, with the cloud trends rising, AWS was 35% in 2016, and now it's 47%. Right? Azure, if you see the growth, was 8% in 2016, the market share, and now it has grown to 22%. So if you see the growth rate of Microsoft Azure, it's actually greater than what AWS is. So AWS grew by 12% from 2016 to 2019, whereas AWS rose a big number, which is 14% from 2016 to 2019. And similarly, if you talk about the other cloud providers, right, you can see the number that it was at 52% and it has just got reduced to 16%. That basically means companies started shifting to major cloud providers like AWS and Microsoft Azure rather than using the legacy cloud providers which were there, for the obvious reasons that these major cloud providers provide us with a lot of features that we can make use of in our day-to-day application deployments. Okay, let's talk about the salary. Now, the salary trends are similar to what you have in AWS. So a solution architect in Azure as well will earn around $100,000 per annum in the US. In UK as well, they will earn around 67,000 pounds. And in India also, you will have 17 lakhs per annum. Right? Now, I would like to point out something over here. This is the average salary. Now, what do you mean by average salary? You can also get a salary higher than this, and you can also get a salary which can be lower than this. And the reason for that would be because it matters what experience you are bringing to the table. For example, if you're a fresher and you do the certification from Azure, do not expect that straight away you will get 17 lakhs per annum while you are certified in Azure. It depends what other skills you have, what development skills you have, what administrative skills you have, what solutions architect skills you have, right? And how, like, for example, there's a certain bar, like there's around a 60-65% passing mark for cracking the Azure Solutions Architect exam, right? Some people get 90% also, some people get 95% also, some people get 61% also, right? All of these people pass. But similarly, there are a lot of Azure Solutions Architects, but they all have different skill sets in them, and based on those skill sets, they basically get the the kind of salary that we are talking about on this screen. Okay, but if you talk about average salary, this is what you get, which is available on the screen. Now let's talk about what is Azure exactly. So I think I've told you enough points to incentivize you to understand, why you should actually go ahead and learn Azure. Now let me give you a brief about what is Azure, and we'll be discussing more about it in the further session that we have in the afternoon. Okay, so guys, Azure is basically a cloud platform which is owned by Microsoft, and like I gave you the definition earlier, that this cloud platform basically rents infrastructure, right, on a per minute or a per hour basis, and you can avail that by going to the Azure dashboard and launching them, right? Most of the companies use them, and the reason they use them is because the maintenance, the upgradation, the security aspect, everything is handled by Microsoft alone, and you as a company, you as an individual can focus on your app development rather worrying about the hardware which is involved in the backend. This is what Microsoft Azure is. Okay, now let's talk about how Azure is actually being used by multiple companies such as Ubisoft and HP for their day-to-day needs. So let's talk about Ubisoft. So Ubisoft is basically a gaming company. Let's see how they're using Azure. So Ubisoft basically is one of the most popular companies to make peer versus peer video games in the world, and it has 30 million plays and a growing army of professional contestants as well, right? So if you are aware of the gaming community, a lot of games are played online with multiplayer these days, right? And when you play multiplayer games online, the latency is very important that you get. So, for example, if you're playing a shooting game, if you shoot somebody on your PC or on your console, such as an Xbox, how much time will that same action be reflected on the opponent's screen? That is very important, right? Because there are movements involved, there are a lot of things involved when you play a game, right? So basically you need a very solid infrastructure in the backend where you're basically hosting this game. Otherwise people will experience a lot of lag, right? And that's where Azure has come in and helped Ubisoft, which has a user base of around 30 million people. And every day people come online, play games, and where they're playing the game, the infrastructure which is handling that is basically Azure for the Ubisoft case, right? And these are some comments given by Ubisoft for Azure as to how Azure has made their lives better in terms of deployment, in terms of game time, etc. Similarly, there's a company called HP, and in HP, basically, HP's customer support, which is basically probably one of the best customer supports in the world, is basically again, based on the Azure infrastructure, right? So HP handles more than 600 million contracts of support each year, right? And they want to make every single one of their contracts or every single one ticket of theirs to be a satisfying experience for their customers, right? So they have basically built their support system on Azure, so their ticketing system. Whenever you raise a ticket, the way it reaches the HP support team is basically using a software which is hosted on the Azure platform. So, and technologically, if you are happy with how HP's services, it's all because of the Azure infrastructure on which it's basically based on. And these are again some good comments that HP has given with regards to their experience for using Azure, and making it us understand how good their infrastructure is. So now when you basically sign up for Azure, like I said, you get those credits, and with those credits you get all these features which are made available to you. You get free B1S VM type hours available on Azure for free when you sign up, right? You can launch Windows machines for free. You have file storage. You can store 5 GB of data for free, and this will also not use up your credits. If you're using file storage, you can use blob storage for the specified amount, SQL storage for the specified amount. And mind you guys, when you use these, you will not be charged from your credits, right? These are something which are given to you extra in the 12 months service package. All right. Now let's talk about how to get started. So I've given you an intro about Azure. I told you about why you should actually go ahead and learn the Azure service, right? Now let's talk about how you can get started. If you want to learn Azure, where you can go ahead and learn from. So there are a lot of resources available on YouTube, guys, which you can watch. We also, as an Intellipaat channel, have posted a lot of video on Azure, which you can actually follow and learn more, right? Similarly, we have also written a lot of blogs on Azure, which you can actually go ahead and watch and understand if if you want to accomplish something, if you are into reading more, you can actually go ahead and understand that as well, right? Apart from that, if you want to learn Azure as a free course, you can actually head on to our website, which is intellipaat.com/academy, right? And over here you can avail the free Azure course from the list of free courses that are available over here. So here's the Azure Admin Foundation course. You can enroll yourself into it, see the quality that we teach with. Now, obviously, this will not be a full course. This will have some 2 or 3 classes from the main course. You can just go ahead and understand. This will basically give you a kickstart into your Azure learning journey. After this, you can either self-study or you can opt to buy a professional course as well. And if you want to do that, we at Intellipaat as well, we train professionally, And the reason you would want to learn with us would be that all our instructors are basically already existing Azure solutions architects, and they are working with Fortune 500 companies, right? And they're part-time trainers with us, so they train you on how companies basically are making use of Azure, how you should prepare for becoming an Azure solutions architect. And since there are a lot of things to study in Azure, that guy will basically focus your attention on what is required to get a good job in the Azure sector, what all things you should focus on, what all things you should know. That is what the instructor is going to guide you. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and enroll. Apart from that, we also offer 24/7 support and lifetime free upgrades. All those you can actually see on our website by going to intellipaat.com, right? Just type in intellipaat.com and you will have a website. You can just search for Azure over here and you can then go ahead and see all our products. Okay, now for all the people who are there on webinar and YouTube, if you want to go ahead and enroll for the course, you can actually type in this promo code, which is YouTube 30, and this will help you out to basically get a flat 30% off on the course that you are interested in. So if you're interested, you can go ahead, use this promo code, and then you can enroll for the course. Okay, so with this, guys, I'd like to take a leave from you all, but this is not the end. Like I said, we will have a second set of webinar as well in the afternoon. So if you are interested, you can go ahead and enroll for that. And in that, we'll be taking this session a notch up. I'll be not only explaining you what Azure is, but I'll also be explaining you how you can deploy your first servers on Azure. Okay, so with that said, guys, I'd like to thank you all for joining in today. If you're interested, you can call on the numbers which are available on the screen, right? And then we can basically take this forward. So I thank you all for joining in today. Have a great day ahead, guys, and goodbye.